Joining us as we unpack their numbers is Company Chief Executive Frank Thompson. Well, Frank, it's as steady as she goes. I was looking back at your share price. If you go back to 2010, when it was 4 Rand a share, it's just under 7 Rand a share now. So nice appreciation, 16% in the last year. And I guess these numbers up 4% at the important numbers. Revenue is 4%, operating profits 9%. I suppose it gives us an understanding of a solid business.
Steady as she goes is the correct word, I think. If you unpack it, there's some interesting features that we're quite pleased about, but steady as she goes sums it up.
And that's really where we need to focus our attention. You and I have spoken a lot over the years. Since the emergence of Curro, the market's attention on Advtech has been perhaps more focused than in the past, because Curro is this innovative, entrepreneurial business that has been shooting the lights out, share price through the ceiling. You, very similar to them in the same area, have been steady as she goes. Have they maybe injected some new enthusiasm? Well,
they've certainly changed the dynamic in the independent education sector. A lot more tension, a lot more hype, a lot more noise. I think Advtech over a long period of time has attracted the investments, not merely the attention, the investments of a large number of stable and keen shareholders who appreciate the long-term nature of the investment and our message.
But it does look like you're changing a little. And I say that because in the last 6 months, you're going to put another 230 million Rand into CapEx. You've got a CapEx budget which is half your market cap, roughly.
Well, again, that's been a long story built up over the last 5 or 6 years, and this is really just more of the same, a steady and consistent acceleration of our investment pattern. Nothing new, nothing changed.
Well, how about the competitive element that Curro has brought to the marketplace?
Well, we don't compete directly with Curro. They are in a different market sector to us and very often geographically different as well, although not always. And I think there's room for both. One of the exciting things about the independent education sector is the need for more opportunities for more students, for different kinds of diverse opportunities, and for different price levels, different economic requirements. It's an area of massive need in our country, and one in which we believe there's plenty of room for active new participants and ourselves.
From the market's perspective, you had it to yourself. These guys have come along, they double your market cap. I mean, doesn't that just irritate you a tad, that these new boys are so much more highly rated?
You know, Alec, if you look at the scale of the respective operations, if you look at the history of what we do and the fact that we are focused on what we're doing and striving to keep doing it well and keep doing it better and to grow steadily and consistently, that's what we focus on. I think the noise in the market is really just that. The proof of the pudding is in the eating over the long run, and our board and, may I say, our large institutional shareholders continue to express support for what we're doing and confidence in what we've said we're going to do. And that's our focus.
But that's exactly my point. You're much bigger, you're much stronger, you've got a completely different platform from which to work. Curro is a lot of promises, but the market has rewarded them more, and that's why I ask you, aren't you just a tad irritated that the market has not given you the rating perhaps that you deserve?
Well, you know, for a mid-cap company like ours, our earnings multiple is around about 20. That historically is a reasonable outcome for a mid-sized company.
I'd say.
And, you know, I think in terms of understanding how you call it the market values companies, my job is to have a good strategy and execute it well as best we can. And that's what we do.
You're continuing to focus along your current line, as you say, and there's no noise is going to deviate you.
Well, obviously we have to pay attention to developments in the market, and there are interesting developments in things like the technology space. Our percentage of students from outside South Africa is growing steadily, and we've got this consistent underpin of rising investments into existing and new businesses. That is a long story that will continue for a long time to come, and we're sticking very much to that strategic knitting. That doesn't mean nothing's going to happen in Advtech. It means we've got a plan, we know what we're doing, and hopefully we're doing it well.
And you've got a market that's almost infinite in many respects, given the need for education in this part of the world?
Well, the opportunities are tremendous. The need for educational opportunities, and I think for diversity of education opportunities. There needs to be a variety of different kinds of opportunities for different people with different needs and aspirations. And we cater for an important part of that market.
Now, the other point that you and I always have a little debate about is your recruitment business.
Yes.
It just seems to be getting smaller and smaller in the grand scheme of things. Operating profit down in that side. Is there really a need to continue holding on there?
Well, if you look at the contribution of the recruitment business over the last few years, it's often made very useful contributions to the overall group when we've needed it. Unfortunately, in this time, with the very sad story of labour relations in this country at the end of last year, beginning of this year, it spilt over into this year's results. There have been some challenges in the labour market. We think that our focus on key niche markets, high demand skills, is good for us. We think we've got a strong market position there and the ability to turn it to account over time. And the board's happy to keep on with that investment and to retain it as part of a portfolio of investments in the group.
Interesting, you mentioned the board a few times. I see you've got Leslie Marstorp, an ex-banker,
Yes.
who's now come in as your chairman. Has he made any change? Has he made much of an impact? Yes?
Well, I think he's made an excellent contribution as a dynamic chairman. The level of debate continues to be useful and helpful at board meetings. No real change to strategy, just I think a very strong support and a good understanding of a very modern take on South Africa and the world of business. He has an enormous amount of experience.
These numbers are for the first half of the year. You have now returned into the growth phase, as you say in the commentary to your results. What's the second half looking like?
Well, experience has shown that the first half results are often a very good indicator of what's going to happen for the full year. We believe this to be no exception. And for that reason, we're quite excited to see the tertiary turnaround reported in these numbers continuing into the second half. And we believe that the growth in schools will continue. We've got a nice chunk of new schools places or new capacity coming on stream at the beginning of next year. We're recruiting into that now. So we are very optimistic about the outlook for us.
You're also investing in Varsity College in Durban North, but you've found 2 new sites in Gauteng.
Those are school
schools.
sites, yes.
Where exactly?
We haven't given the details of that beyond. We've announced the new Trinity School at Heritage Hill, and there's a new Crawford going up in Bedford View at the old Italian Club, Crawford Italia, in kind of joint venture with the Italian community to service their needs.